Hello everybody, my name is Chiara Zanchi and I'm going to present this paper also on Silvia Luraghi's and Claudia Roberta Combei's behalf. The title of this paper is PaVeDa, Pavia Verbs Database, Challenges and Perspectives. In this paper, I'm going to tell you the motivations behind PaVeDa, its aims, and the features of the database. In the last decades, researchers have observed that cross-linguistically, verb classes show similar patterns as for their argument structure constructions and alternations. This observation led scholars to study the extent of possible variation across verb classes emerging from languages of different genetic and areal affiliation in order to discover general tendencies. Additionally, typologists have striven to design and build foundational toolkits, datasets, and other resources useful to ease and systematize research on verb classes. The open access ValPaL database, the output of a project named Valency Classes in the Languages of the World carried out at Leipzig University, has represented a groundbreaking tool for the field. The rationale behind its construction is fully documented in Malchukov and Combei 2015. The database contains data for 80 verb meanings from 36 languages. Data includes translational equivalents for these verb meanings together with their associated participants called micro-roles, their basic valency patterns, and valency alternations. All are represented through so-called coding frames. Here you can see the coding frames, the basic coding frame of the Italian equivalent for load, caricare, and one of its alternations called locative alternation. The coding frame represents micro-roles 1, 2, and 3, order of these micro-roles with respect to the verb, indexing, and flagging. There are, however, some open issues of the ValPaL database. So first, the language sample is unbalanced. The database does not contain data from ancient languages. The examples are based on speakers' intuitions and only occasionally extracted from corpora, and the database does not support comparative visualization of constructions and alternations. So with PaVeDa, we aim to build a typological resource that also allows for diachronic research. The resource will comply with up-to-date standards of cross-linguistic data formats. We will preserve compatibility with other linguistic resources by avoiding multiplying information by referencing to existing data. The resource will be open access to enable collaboration and reproducibility also with international partners. PaVeDa will include languages from families that are currently not represented on ValPaL, such as Uralic and Turkic, or are underrepresented, such as Afroasiatic. We will add ancient Indo-European and Afroasiatic languages. Actually, we collected datasets from early Latin, ancient Greek, Gothic, Old Irish, Old English, and classical Armenian. As the non-native speakers are available for ancient languages, we resort to data retrieved from corpora. To assess which coding frames are basic, a greater weight is given to the frequencies of attested patterns. Usage-based methodology has been applied to modern languages as well by linking the data on constructional patterns to existing corpora and machine-readable resources. However, some of the languages are low-resourced in terms of reference corpora for either oral or written varieties, and in some cases for both. In addition, current approaches to valency identify the basic coding frame based on verb semantics and maximal argument structure. If one takes into account frequency for the choice of the basic coding frame, then that choice determines whether individual alternations are viewed as argument adding or deleting. The structure of the database is aimed at making contrastive visualizations possible, ensuring interoperability with the ValPaL resource due to a new layer of annotation that contains non-language specific alternations, and at enabling generalizations over language-specific patterns. The set of general alternations contains functional and conceptual labels in order to avoid multiplying terminology and to maximize language coverage. We will show now one example included in the set of general alternations. So the Italian locative alternation we have seen before, the Balinese locative alternation, argument rearranging, and the Russian prefixal go instrumental alternation are mapped onto the locative alternation argument rearranging, as from a functional perspective, they basically do the same work. The label locative alternation oblique to object is preferable over applicative, as for example, the latter usually implies explicit encoding on the verb, which is not always the case. In contrast, the former also accounts for marginal transitive occurrences, for example, of the Italian verb abitare, inhabit, as shown in example 2, as compared to the basic coding frame in example 1, in which the locative micro role is indicated by the preposition in. So, for example, the set of the language-specific alternations stored in the ValPaL for Italian, which you can see on this slide, has been mapped to a set of general alternations. So, for example, the locative alternation has been mapped to locative alternation, argument rearranging, whereas the anti-causative alternation of Italian, coded, has been mapped to non-causal alternation, which is a rather functional label to identify this type of alternation. So this is the current website of the database. Here are some references. And finally, I thank you for your attention, also on Silvia's and Roberta's behalf. And here you find our addresses in case you want to keep in touch. Thank you again.